Each of the four caucuses, as many of you watching this know, each of the four caucuses has their own campaign committee. These are campaign committees built on legislators' own personal time outside of their official capacities, of course, but they are elevated by their caucus to be the chief strategists for them heading into the election. And this year, for the Senate Democrats in Olympia, they selected, among others, Jamie Pedersen to be their chief and sort of chief strategy officer for the Democratic caucus in the campaign season. And Senator Pedersen is here joining us tonight. Senator, thanks for making time.
Thank you very much for having me.
So give us a rundown. I know you've seen a lot of internal polling, and I know that you've been very hopeful about the state Senate map this year in 2020. Now that we're 43 minutes away from polls closing, give us your sense of how optimistic Senate Democrats should be.
Well, look, the big picture is we started out with a 28-21 advantage. And of the seats that are up for us, remarkably, there's only one that we're really having to defend, and that's Dean Tacco's seat down in the 19th district. So the worst case scenario for us is probably 27, which in the big picture, if you just keep that in mind, is a pretty good place to be, considering where the Senate has been for a lot of this decade. So on the upside, we identified 4 or 5 districts in which we hoped that we could be competitive this year. They ranged from the 28th, Lakewood University Place, down to DuPont, which is the most Democratic district currently held by a Republican. But don't underestimate the Republican, because he has been a very strong competitor. And that district has not elected a Democrat to the state Senate since the 1960s. So even though the House Democrats have done well there, it's been a long drought for my caucus. So, nothing certain about that. But we have an absolutely fantastic candidate, Tawana Nobles, whom I guess your viewers have heard some about. She has just been working her tail off. She started her campaign right around the end of the legislative session. And at that time, Steve O'Bann had already $300,000 in the bank. So the fact that she has not only matched, but actually passed him in fundraising and outperformed him in the primary gives us a lot of hope about where we might be in that district. Another race to watch is the 10th district up in Whidbey, and so Island County, and then a little bit of Snohomish and Skagit counties. That's a race where we have an open seat filled by Barbara Bailey left after nearly 7 years, I guess, in the Senate. And she had defeated a Democrat up there, Mary Margaret Haugen, who had been the senator for a long time. So there's an appointed member for the Republicans, Ron Mazzal, and we have a super candidate named Helen Price Johnson, who has served 12 years on the Island County Commission. Island County makes up just a little bit more than half of the district, and she's been elected county-wide 3 times. So, and has been at it for more than a year, raising a lot of money, and with kind of a volunteer army of folks working on her campaign. So did well in the primary, and we feel like that one could be competitive for us as well. Then pushing the map a little further, we have a fantastic candidate in the 25th district, Julie Dorr, who's the mayor of Puyallup. That's the heart of the 25th. And she's running for an open seat that's vacated by Hans Zeiger, leaving the Senate to run for the Pierce County Council. So we're hopeful there. It's been a while since Jim Castema left the Senate, since the Democrats had a member from the 25th in the Senate. And then down in the 17th, which is sort of the Florida for the Senate Democrats, just one of those places that we always are close, but never quite there. Senator Linda Wilson is the incumbent and faces a stiff challenge from Daniel Smith, who's been running very hard. And then I'd say the sleeper of the night, which didn't look super competitive in the primary with a very competitive Republican primary, is the open seat over in the 16th district where Senator Maureen Walsh has left that. seat. And so we have a super dynamic candidate, Danielle Garvey-Reeser, who's running against Perry Dozier, a former Walla Walla County Commissioner. And Danielle, who was born in Moses Lake, went to Whitman College, went off and served in the Foreign Service, and then has been back running the largest private foundation there in Walla Walla, married to a fifth-generation Walla Walla wheat farmer. She has just been running like crazy, has out-fundraised her opponent, and then has been up on TV. TV is cheap in that market, so that's given her a good opportunity to get her message out. And so our polling over there suggests that that race is competitive as well. So, I guess the range of bidding is somewhere between 27 and 32 or 33 seats that we could wind up with. And, just candidly, there's no result in that range that would be particularly surprising to me. We just don't know what it's going to look like. As
you said, it's a better majority for the Senate Democrats than existed just a few years ago with the majority caucus coalition, the sort of bipartisan group of Republicans with a handful of Democrats that took control of the chamber, just like I say, just a few years ago.
Yep.
Give us a sense of the fifth. And the fifth is a race between two Democrats. Those are relatively new. We had one of those in the 32nd a couple of years ago between now Senator Jesse Solomon and then Senator Marilyn Chase. Give us a sense of the fifth in your view. And as a campaign chair, I mean, your job is in part to raise money to represent Democrats in the Senate, and there was a lot of money spent on friendly fire where Democrats have been beating up Democrats in the fifth. What's your take about that race?
That race is a very significant source of frustration for me because I think Senator Mullet has been a fantastic member of our caucus. As you pointed out, we went through a long period in the wilderness when a few conservative or moderate Democrats joined with the Republicans to form a majority. And I just point out that Mark was elected that year when that caucus formed. And he could so easily have jumped over and been a member of that caucus, been a committee chair early and had a lot of power and influence. And he stuck with the Democrats through all of that, partly because he is a Democrat. He identifies as a Democrat on a whole series of issues, whether it's choice or gun responsibility, environmental issues. So, it's and then, of course, when we retook the majority in the fall of 2017, he was the deciding vote on a whole series of issues that we managed to get passed in the 2018 session. People's memories are short, though, and some people have decided that he's insufficiently Democratic to be representing that district in King County. Now, what I think they forget is that that's probably 52-48 Democratic district, not the 32nd, let alone the 43rd or the 36th. And so I think part of what happened in the primary is that you had a bunch of Republicans who were extremely surprised where they had to choose between two Democrats. So, we compare the race between Mullet and Anderson to the next race down the ballot from them, competitive Republican-Democrat House race. There were 8,500 fewer votes cast. Well, there were not for any declared write-ins, so that's just throwing your ballot away, essentially. And then another 7,000 undervotes, people who just didn't bother to fill in the bubble. So, that suggests to me that there were a lot of Republicans who just didn't see any difference for them between voting for Mullet and voting for Anderson. So I think a lot of the general election campaign has been about communicating with those voters and voters like them to help prepare them for grieving the fact that they're going to have to choose between two people of the same party. And in the end, I suspect that Mullet will win with a comfortable margin.
Well, Senator Pedersen, I appreciate you making time. I will note to our viewers, I'm told by some of your caucus members that you only get tough assignments from your caucus because they respect you so much. So thanks for doing this. Thanks for participating, and thanks for your public service. We appreciate it.